And good morning, Hoosier Nations, and welcome to, I'm happy to say, one of the most victorious editions of Hoosier Morning After. Definitely the most victorious edition of Hoosier Morning After since this show has been in existence. 2 nights ago, your Indiana Hoosiers go on to beat Purdue. That feels so good to say. 65-68. Improving the Hoosiers to 14-4 overall and 5-3 in the Big Ten, sitting at number 6 in the conference, just ahead of Purdue. A game that, going into it, I'll be honest, I was a little concerned about. I didn't know how Indiana would answer some of the questions and some of the matchups that Indiana had ahead of it, and was a little nervous at the beginning. Purdue gets off to a 7-0 lead, and IU, the starters standing around, nothing looking too good at that point. And then we start to shift to the subs. We start to see the normal kind of subbing pattern that Woody has shown to us. A few of the subs get in, and then we get to an all-sub lineup. And that proves to be, shockingly enough, the difference in this game. They go on a 12-29 run after all those subs get in to the end of the first half and take Indiana into halftime with a 9-point lead, which floored me going into, and then into the second half. A little scary because we struggled again. The starters struggled to find some offense. Things weren't hitting as much as they were. Some of the Purdue players that were cold at the beginning of the game, Ivy and a few others, started to hit some more of their shots. Some few mistakes on defense and everything. Allowing Purdue to kind of bring the game within 1 point in the first 4 minutes. But when it comes down to it, IU needed a basket at the end of the game, and Rob stepped up. Rob stepped up in the first half. Second half, he struggled a little bit, but despite missing a 3-point shot and just the previous possession, IU gets the ball again, calls timeout, and all reports say that in the huddle, Rob told Woody that, I want the shot. They run a play that they just drew up during shoot-around that day, and Rob gets open. A beautiful play, honestly. If you look back at the play, I know you're watching Rob come around and everything, but look at the beautiful screen that X has on Edey and gets Trace Jackson-Davis, honestly, relatively open for a layup as well under the basket. Kind of a decoy, to be honest, because they're going to think about that. And Rob is able to shake loose, get enough room, and nails it. Such an exciting end. I was in a hotel watching the game delayed, and I definitely probably woke up a few people on the floor around me. But so exciting to get that monkey off our back, get things going. You notice, again, our friend of the show, my buddy Martha's here. Martha, thank you for joining us in this show. Talk about this game. How exciting is that to finally get over this hump?
Yeah, it's one of those games that when it's over with, you feel like you just played 40 minutes, right? Your heart rate's coming down. You're emotional about it, like you mentioned. But to finally get the monkey, off our collective back. This rivalry is special to all of us in unique ways. My brother's a Purdue grad. We all have stories, right? Whether it's family connections or our friends at work that love to give you crap, but it's. Anytime you lose to your rival 9 times in a row, and this was our chance to beat him at home, right? Because obviously going into Mackey Arena is never, the odds are better that we're winning, this week than they are when we play them in Mackey. So this is the one we've got to get right if we don't want to go another year without hearing from everybody involved with Purdue how many games it's been or how many days it's been since Indiana last beat Purdue. So, sweet relief, really. And just to be able to do it how we did it, right? You mentioned, coming out, getting down early and, Trace getting 2 early fouls. Somebody tells you that, you look at the box score and somebody tells you that Trace plays 11 minutes. You're like, your instant reaction is, well, that game doesn't go well. Right. So, to be able to do it how we did it, to finally get the monkey off our back, not just for us fans, but for the players too, and for the students at IU. These guys had never beat Purdue, so to be able to finally do it, just happy for the guys, happy for Woody, and happy for everyone that we could finally put this behind us.
Yeah, and like like you said, it looking at the stats, you never would have guessed this game would have gone this way. And even looking at the game, you've got to feel bad. Well, no, I'm not going to feel bad for a Purdue person. The Purdue game plan. Whoever had this scout, how are you scouting Indiana? You're scouting Indiana to take away Trace Jackson Davis. Well, he did that himself, and he was out of the game.
Right.
You scout Indiana, not necessarily worried about the point guard play, not thinking that you need to play special attention to the point guard play because it has struggled in and out, and the point guard play. Those were the high leading scorers of the team. And you also play it knowing that we got to have extra concentration on the starters and that the bench struggles. And who are the best players but the bench in this game? So it was interesting to see that those types of things came to fruition in this game, and that's where things struggled. And obviously, I want to tip off our kind of discussion back and forth here. We got to talk about Rob. This is a game that hailing from that area. He's obviously sick of hearing it. I'm sure all of his friends bug him. I bet 90% of the friends that he knows that went to college went to Purdue or somewhere around there. So they're always bugging him and everything. And it's been a monkey on his back, probably more so than anyone else on this team. And he steps up, and especially after a lot of naysaying and a lot of talk and everything leading into this game about how is he doing? He's reached his ceiling. He's never going to be consistent. What is he going to be doing for us? He puts that kind of to bed, at least for this game, to show us Rob that we know can be there. Those of us hardcore fans that have been in his corner forever. And all reports, if you listen to Woody's post-game show, he talks about that they had a great meeting at the end. And Woody said he wouldn't say much about it, but you can kind of piece together through other things that Woody said during that interview, and then also in some videos you've seen, that Woody basically just said, you don't need anyone in your corner but me. I'm in your corner. I love you. I've got your back. I've got you. And that resonated with Rob. That was something comforting to Rob. That put Rob to ease. And maybe he also lit a fire under Rob as well within that, because we know that Woody can be tender and loving, but he can also be that parent that to say that you need to do better. And something clicked in Rob, and he had his best game that we've probably seen him in this uniform. What did you think of Rob?
Just again, I go back to being just super, like you mentioned, just super happy for him. With what he's been through. Anytime you come in, have a good freshman season, the guy that recruited you is now gone, and to stick through all of that, right? I think you take a step back and look at, how that all happened. I think Rob, when it was announced that Coach Miller was getting fired, Rob was one of the guys that maybe you saw might look to, finish out his career somewhere else, right? If things haven't gone as planned, he has the good freshman year and things don't go well from there, battled some injuries, all that stuff. And just a guy that, everybody keeps asking, where's freshman Rob? Where's freshman Rob? And I think for me, it just shows you the power of believing in somebody, the power of believing in yourself. And because you never saw Rob hang his head or pout or, get on social media and complain or anything like that. It's just a guy that, by all accounts, just kept his head down and kept working. And obviously you can, as you mentioned, with some of the quotes that are coming out, Woody just kept believing in the guy. And it's not like Coach Woody said that after, the game on Thursday night. He said that leading up to the game. He's like, look, I believe in Rob. I tell Rob, go out and do your thing. And
after all the criticism.
Exactly. After all the criticism, because you go back to the box score and if somebody asks you, Trace Jackson Davis plays 11 minutes, how does Indiana win? Somebody's got to step up on the perimeter. You don't win that game without somebody stepping up on the perimeter. And for Rob to do that and take advantage of that moment with all the storylines involved, hometown school, Purdue, getting the first victory against Purdue, you're just really, really happy for the guy, just for all the reasons I mentioned. Just he's put in the work, he's stuck with it, and to see all that pay off, you can't help but take a step back and be proud of what he was able to overcome on Thursday night against Purdue. So just really, really happy for the guy.
Mm-hmm. And to say in conjunction, Xavier Johnson was the other one, getting equal heat and everything going into this game, and on recent, and he's a little more verbal on Twitter and everything, and definitely has seen more of the criticism maybe than Rob. Rob might shut it off a little bit more, but Xavier Johnson steps up as well. I mean, those two had more than half of our points in this game. They end up together with 38 points, are the only ones that made 3-pointers for us, are 6 for, let me see, 6 for 11 together. The team overall, 6 for 20. So they just show up and have that fire and that drive in them to get above it. Xavier Johnson just proving that he can play within the game. He has the tough games where he gets too emotional, and then he has those games where maybe he's backing off too much. And I think in this game, you got the right amount of fire. You didn't really notice him overstepping his bounds. You didn't notice overall as a team, I will agree, you don't see them overstepping their bounds. Indiana wasn't forcing things. They were just playing tough. They were just playing strong. What did you see in Xavier Johnson, and how also speak about maybe those two guys playing together? We got to see those minutes a lot as well.
Yeah, I think that, for all the heat, I put myself in that group. I've been pretty hard on X leading up to Thursday night. I thought we don't, again, as good as Rob was, we don't win without X's play either. Even defensively, you look at when we went on the run in the first half and his ability to put full court pressure on the ball and the guy bringing it up, and it just slowed Purdue down. And you could tell how much of an impact our defense had on Purdue. But, both defensively and on the offensive end too, right? He made some key shots and some key plays when we needed them. So we don't win without X. And I think, you look at how far he's come as well. I think if you read about his time at Pitt, man, there was a stretch where he went 4 or 5 games and had 4 or 5 technicals. And there's some articles written about that. And yeah, he's emotional, but I think he's come a long way in being able to keep a little bit of control of that emotion as well. There's stretches where you scratch your head and be like, why is Xavier Johnson taking these unnecessary shots? Yeah. And the challenge is they've come at bad times, right? You look at the loss at Wisconsin, or at Iowa, or at, Syracuse. Those stretches have come in those games that have really frustrated IU fans because it was a chance to get a nice road win. We end up blowing big leads, and he goes through a stretch like that. So automatically we point at him and be like, man, if we just, we don't have that, we have a better chance at winning. So yeah, he's taken some heat, but man, you also look at the way he can play and the way he can handle the ball. He gives us that point guard play that we haven't had in a long, long time. So, I think he took a big step in the right direction Thursday night. And again, we don't win without him either. So really, really proud of his play as well.
Yeah. Another great storyline into it with, obviously, with Trace Jackson Davis on the bench. That's going to open up minutes for other guys. And excuse me. That led to Michael Durr getting 24 minutes in this game, where he averages about 5 minutes on the season. And that's great in many realms because Trace Jackson Davis, while he has made leaps and bounds and his conditioning, and we see him moving around a lot more, it's going to be a long season if he has to play these extended minutes that he is. And now to have a little bit more confidence, both as a fan base and then as coaches can see that Dirk can handle a little bit more minutes if he needs to. Now, I doubt he goes for 24 much more in the season, and I hope he doesn't, because that means that something probably terrible happened to Trace Jackson Davis, or he fouled out or had a situation like he did in this game. But he had some great minutes in there for IU. Only ends with 4 points, but made 2 of his 4 free throws, and then had the 2 points shot that he did make was that beautiful kind of outside shot, I will say, for a big man, and beautiful shot that he has, and something that I remember seeing in the highlights doing research on him. But great to have those minutes and have a guy that can step up when the Big Ten has big guys that we're going to play against, that Trace Jackson Davis historically struggles against, a little bit more physical big guys. And we kind of saw that in this game before he kind of went out with his foul trouble. But great to be able to see Durr get in there. Talk to me about what you saw out of Durr.
Yeah, I think that, when you look back at when Michael Durr was committed to Indiana, and you kind of looked at his make up statistically and what he brought to the table. These are the games you bring Michael Duran for, right? The Big Ten season, the games that are going to be battles down low. You instantly look at Purdue with the big guys they have, and that's why we bring Michael Duran on. So again, another guy that steps up when we need it, right? I mean, I thought the encouraging thing, and again, to your point, I don't ever want to see us play long stretches without Jackson Davis if we don't have to, but you take away a little encouragement, right? I mean, you look back at how the Nebraska game ended when Trace hurt his back and just barely hanging on, and you're like, oh gosh, what is life without Trace going to be like, right? It's a scary thought, but then to see us, some guards step up, and we're not necessarily playing through Michael Durr like we would Trace Jackson Davis, and because you got to be honest, there are times when we come out to begin games with that starting lineup that it looks like there's just a lot of standing around on the perimeter, and we're waiting to play through Trace, and it's a different look when he's not on the court. Now, I'm not saying it's better, don't take this the wrong way. I don't ever want to see us play without Trace. Trace is an All-American, and we need Trace to be a successful ball club, but you can kind of get a sense of maybe what the direction of this program looks like, where we're not necessarily playing through an All-American guy down low, where we've got a steady force down low, but we're really relying on really, really solid guard play to grow this program. But back to your question, you look at Michael Durr and his value the other night. It's huge, especially with Trace's early 2 fouls. He comes in, during the run, provides, that steady force down low. You look at the big men from Purdue, and I think Edey and Trevion Williams had a combined 14 points. I mean, you take that all day, every day, and you force the perimeter of Purdue to beat you. And that's a winning recipe right there. And so again, just another upperclassman that, you look at the guys that stepped up, and it's all guys with experience and have done this before. So just again, really proud of those upperclassmen to step up, and Durst certainly fits that mold.
But also, we got to give a little bit of at least or props to Trace Jackson Davis, despite being out as long as he was at the end of the game when he did go in. If you're sitting that much, and especially the way he wasn't 100% in this game, and right. There were reports that in warmups, he looked a little labored, he looked a little bit in pain and stuff. And so him getting into foul trouble again might have been a blessing in disguise, because had we had him in there during the game, we might have been trying to force things. Again, like I said before, he tends to struggle when he has a little bit bigger guys that he has to go against that are a little more physical than him. But when he got in there at the end of the game, he played great D on Trevion Williams and was forceful and aggressive in it, despite having 4 fouls. He could have possibly fouled out there, but when guys have those 4 fouls, they tend to be a little more tentative on defense, but he stayed walled up with him and made Williams have to take a contested shot, causing him to miss that. And then at the end gets away with that kind of rebound steal kind of thing after the miss, and gets 2 free throws and nails those two free throws to allow IU to have that comfortable 3-point lead. Had we not had that, Ivy going down there would have been really scary for him to hit that very close 3 that he almost hit, and nearly went in there. But I think the biggest thing that obviously won on this game was the defense and how IU played defense and showed that defense will win you games. And there was a little discussion, assembly call. They did a little bit of one of those Twitter spaces and everything. And people were discussing back and forth about, obviously we've got the high scoring, best offense, efficient offense in the Big Ten going against the best defense in the Big Ten. And some people were clouding towards favoring when it's that kind of matchup that the offense wins. And I argue differently. I think of that differently, because I think, as we saw in the Iowa game before, and this is what gave me the little bit of hope leading into this game, that when Iowa was touted as a high power offense as well, and when you get those high power offenses going against strong defenses, if the defense just stays hard nosed and can shut them down a little bit, that frustrates those teams that are offensively powered. And you saw that in this game. I mean, shoot, Trey Galloway frustrates Ivy so much that off the ball he gets pushed to the ground. I'm still a little leery on that. How is that not a flagrant two? I'm kind of questionable about that
Right.
because it's a non-basketball play. It's away from the ball. It was on purpose. It's not like he was cutting and he knocked him down. So that kind of confused me a little bit, but I didn't. But in a way, good he stayed in. Then they couldn't say, well, you just won. Purdue people would just be, oh, you won because he got fouled out on a bad call, blah, 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 blah. But anyways, great to see the defense on him because he could have really punished us. And the frustration that Trey stepping up and playing defense against him, I believe that Stewart did pretty good against him, but Ivy's just such an athlete and has such speed to get around him. X did a good job on him. Talk to me about what you saw to the defense, also that defense on Ivy and everything in this game.
Yeah, you mentioned Trey. Trey's defense on Jaden Ivey, and it was brought up during the game. I got a text from my buddy, and I think there was something going around on social media how they, those two have a history leading back to high school, right?
3 sectional games, I think I
right,
saw that they played against each other.
Jaden Ivey, I think he went to the prep school up there, Northern Indiana, and obviously Trey from Culver played in the same sectional, and Trey got the best of him, I think, 3 times in high school and sectional. So there's, I don't know that I'd call it bad blood, but certainly there's a rivalry between those two guys that carried over into this game. And again, that's a fun thing about this game is these guys, some of these guys are friends off the court, and just like we are as fans, right? We've got family and friends that it makes this rivalry fun, and it's the same thing with these guys. So these storylines carry over, and obviously the history there, and you could tell there was some frustration, and just the lockdown defense or the peskiness by Trey certainly got in Jaden Ivey's head a little bit, and ultimately maybe made him play better in the second half. Who knows? But, just the ability to pressure the ball and to your point, just, how do you combat the two, right? Purdue has so many weapons, and, Indiana known for their defense, and you go back to the Iowa game, how that was a tale of two halves, and just the ability to put it together for a full 40 minutes, even with all the obstacles that were thrown in the way, and end up closing the deal and getting the W. It was just really, really impressive. The defense across the board. I don't. I really thought we were going to have trouble with their big men down low. So, I haven't mentioned Race a lot, and, he's just the steady guy that sometimes at this point in his career, it's not like he's putting up 20 points, so we tend to take him for granted, but he's so important to our success. And you look back at that dunk he had, I think he had a dumb foul at one point. I think he had did he have a flagrant one? I can't remember.
It was the flagrant one. And I'm on the fence with that one.
Debatable. Yeah. But yeah, it's just, we tend to take him at times for granted, especially a game like Thursday night with other guys stepping up. He's just the guy that's, you don't necessarily have to hope that he steps up. He's just the steady force we get every game. So, proud of his performance, but the defense across the board, just with, again, you go back to like the missed free throws, and even though Trace made 2 at the end, like there was a moment where I got really concerned because he missed 2 free throws at the end. And I think we were up 1. He missed a chance to put us up 3, and I think Purdue goes down and scores to put them up 1. And it's like, oh, that's after his game, that's gonna be a tough one. But again, back to your question with the defense, yeah, it's the difference maker, right? I mean, especially with the challenges we were faced with missing Trace, it's we don't win without it.
Mm-hmm. This defense is going to be the edge that we have, and come tournament time, that's going to help us a lot too. Teams that can't scout for too long, you can't scout against other teams all that much. You got quick turnaround games and everything like that. But if you just can play hard-nosed defense, just do what you do, then you can get through it. The fragrant call I want to mention on race one a little bit. You brought that up. I'm on the fence of it in any other game. If he commits that foul in any other game, I think I am a little bit more angry about it than I am in this game. The context of this game, the 9 losses in a row, the fact that it's this cocky player coming down the line, I hate it when players do that. I'll even call out our players if they do that as well. Trace has kind of done similar-esque things before. But after a foul is called on you on the floor, for you to take that continuation on your own and go up and try to do a dunk or something like that. I myself, and I think a lot of Hoosier fans, were Race in that instance. And maybe we all channeled and controlled Race there at that moment and said, no, not anymore. Not in our house. You're not going to come in and get one of your little highlighty dunks, cool looking practice on our hoops when the ball is dead. So I'm fine with it in that sense and in the context of this game.
I agree.
But any other time, don't do that, Race, because that could have been very bad. That could have turned the tide. That could have lit a fire for them. And it did. It was still kind of close. The game was still kind of close to kind of give up that kind of thing. Letting him shoot and giving them the ball back. So yeah, just one pass card. That's your hall pass. Race, don't do it again. Right. Looking into the numbers and everything, the biggest one obviously is the bench points. 35-4. Bench stepping up again. A lot of that is Rob. It's 20 of those are Rob's points. But another interesting one to look at is points in the paint. IU wins that one 28-30. Like you said, you were just talking about the big men. IU going into it was how do we respond to these big men? And obviously we did a good job with it. And then the other big one to me is the turnovers. IU just has 3 turnovers in this game. 2 of them are from Trace Jackson Davis when he got doubled. And he kind of struggled with that at a point. Because, I mean, you have big old Edie with his hands up in your face and another guy. It's going to be tough to try to pass out of that. And then Tamar Bates, I think, had the other one. So 3 turnovers in this game from players that just played 11 minutes from Trace and 7 from Bates. And all the rest of the minutes, not a single turnover. IU played with determination with the ball and with confidence of the ball and didn't try anything too crazy. Do you want to talk about turnovers or what kind of stats did you see in this game that you liked?
Yeah, obviously the bench, you look at the bench and, if they didn't outscore the starters, it had to be really, really close. But, you look at how important they were too. I mean, because especially when you look at, let's take, for example, the combined production from Parker Stewart and Miller Kopp and Trace Jackson Davis. I mean, you're talking maybe 6 points, 8 points. And again, we've talked a little bit this morning about here, if somebody gives you this box score without seeing the final score, what is your initial thought? And you see a stat line like that, 3 of the 5 starters combined for, 6 points, one being your All-American forward. You're like, oh crap, right? There's zero chance of victory. So the way that the bench has stepped up and getting, we've talked a lot about Rob, but just Trey Galloway's play since he's come back. You look at the difference in this team since he's come back, and yeah, they've dropped a game at Iowa. I get that, but just the way the team looks when he gets on the floor, and I'm not saying they look worse when he's not, but certainly when they need a spark, he can come in and give it. And you instantly see a guy that's active, that's in the right places at the right time. We've talked a lot about him, but he puts up 8 points, and they're 8 relatively quiet points. But what he was able to bring up from the defensive end, and we've talked about Michael Durr and Geronimo was, he played 13 to 15 minutes and was another steady force defensively that we've talked about. So, you look back towards the beginning of the season and, the way Purdue was rolling early, and it just looked like they were deep for days, right? It's like, holy cow, they just, they're loaded. And to a sense they are, but for us to come out of the game and having our bench put up, outproduce them the way that they did, that's obviously one of the key differences in the game and one of the biggest reasons we've won. So again, just really proud of the bench play as well.
Yeah. And it is interesting to kind of speak about now. And obviously there's a discussion that can be had to when you see the starters in, as we saw in this game, you alluded to a little bit there, the offense looks stagnant. It doesn't look like things are moving as much. And then once you play Trey in there, plug Trey in there, there seems to be so much more movement off the ball. He is constantly moving on offense, and things are just getting done a lot quicker and a lot more fluid when he's in there. So there's an argument maybe to be said that maybe Woody needs to mix up that starting lineup. I don't know. It's a tough one to think about. I do like his energy coming off the bench, but maybe we need that energy off the bounce. Maybe we think about him going in for Miller Kopp to start, and then you've got Stewart and Kopp can be interchangeable coming in for each other, or those three can kind of spin around in the minutes with each other. But what are your thoughts on that kind of situation and mixing him up, getting him in earlier, or having him start?
I think the easiest fix would be, you keep waiting for that Miller Kopp game. It's, you look at him. I remember, I don't know if it was last season or the season before, but when Northwestern came to Assembly Hall, I think it was our first Big Ten game. I want to say it was last season, but Miller Kopp goes off for like 20 points against us, knocking down threes. And, he's a guy that averaged double figures for Northwestern last year. I want to say it was 11 or 12 points, but you get 11 or 12 points on average from Miller Kopp. I don't think that you necessarily are having the conversation about putting Trey in the starting lineup, because I think Trey provides a ton of value being able to be that spark plug off the bench. Because you put him in the lineup, you might not necessarily have that, right? You might not necessarily have that impact guy that comes in and can immediately make a change. Maybe Miller Kopp's better in that role. I don't know. And I guess you don't know what you don't know, but like you just keep waiting for Miller Kopp to have that game where he knocks down some threes, puts up 10, 12 points and does it consistently. And he's going through a little bit of a struggle, but again, I think Woody probably treats him the same way and says, keep doing your thing and keep believing in yourself and you'll break through. I mean, we've talked about the same thing with Tamar a little bit and just waiting for him to kind of, because we've seen him in spurts too, right? He's going to have a breakout game as well. But, I don't, it's not like we're dropping games. We've lost a couple on the road, but I don't think it's time to make any move yet. I mean, we just beat, a top 5 team ranked in the country. So it's not like I think we need to make any crazy changes to our lineup, but it's one of those things that you do have to ask the question, right? If Miller Kopp continues to struggle, do you make that change? I think for now you just ride it out and hope that Miller breaks through and use Trey off the bench as that spark plug. But certainly have to start looking at it a little bit moving forward if Miller continues to struggle.
And that's the positive to look at. As you said, at every loss that we've had, we've been in it. We've been close. It was right there. We could have won all those. So maybe that is more of a discussion, like you said, if there is a game, knock on wood, do I have any wood near me, where we get blown out or whatever. But it's also, like you said, that we know it's in there and in his game since he's done it in the past. And again, I was all for him and high on him watching him in the Bahamas. I was excited for the season to get going because I saw that impact from the past and from what he played in that game. So maybe it's one of those situations where it's nice to know that that's an arrow that we have in our quiver. We haven't put it to the bow yet and been able to let it loose, but man, we're reaching for that. And when that arrow gets put on the bow, it's going to hit that bullseye. And maybe that causes a lot more flow from that. Maybe it's just a matter of breaking that seal and getting to that next level for him. So not ready to necessarily give up on him overall, but something to keep our eyes on and look at moving forward and into this season and everything. But any other storylines, any other plays or something like that from this game that you want to speak on before we kind of wrap things up?
How about, I made a tweet, one of my many tweets during my emotional roller coaster of a game. It's kind of my coping mechanism. Tweet through it. The free throw, the combined free throw shooting from both teams, 2 teams from Indiana. And I'm not saying all the guys are from Indiana, but I want to say it was like a combined 21 for 41 from the free throw line. That's just, that's really, really bad. Obviously Purdue can point to it and say, man, we make some free throws. Look at how the outcome of the game could be different, but so could Indiana. It's like, we make our free throws. It's not such a close contest going down the stretch.
We missed 10, they missed 10. Coach Tonsoni even, I think, said that before. I was texting with him and he said some of the grumbling he's hearing, well, we didn't hit our free throws kind of thing. So Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's one of those imagine if we make, and both sides can say it, right? Imagine if we
Hmm.
made some free throws, right? And had we again, we were you just thankful Rob made that shot at the end because we were, you know, I don't know how you were feeling. I know you said you watched the game on delay, but watching it in real time and seeing us down, again towards the end of the game, it's like here we go again, and just so thankful he made that. But like just had it not happened, you point to those and be like, man, make some damn free throws, and we don't have to worry about making a last second shot. So an interesting stat. Outside of that, you look at the opportunity here moving forward. Obviously, we as fans have spent a lot of time talking about this win as I think we should have, right? I mean, it's the first time we beat them in 10 games, and I think you give yourself a day, right? Let's celebrate this for a day, but then it's like, man, okay,
We
we've
play
got a
tomorrow.
lot of yeah. We Michigan's going to be, Michigan started the season, top 5 in the country or whatever they were. Yeah, they've had a hard go of it, but you look at the way they played Maryland the other night at home. Maryland turned around and who they beat Illinois last night. I know Illinois was out without Kofi, and that's massive, but there are no days off in the Big Ten, right?
Hmm.
You celebrate this one or have a hangover from this one, and you find yourself losing at home to Michigan. Michigan's a talented team. They didn't start off that highly ranked in the season for no reason. They've got talent. They blew out Maryland the other night at home. They looked like Michigan should look like, or many people expected them to look like. So they're coming in a little warm with a little bit of confidence. So you've got to be able to put this one behind you pretty quickly as
Hmm.
as a team and a program. I'm sure Woody's preaching that to his squad, but you see it in sports sometimes, right? You get the big emotional victory, then you come out flat the next game. So my hope is that we as a program, we as a team, we as a fan base, whoever's going to the game, we bring it on Sunday. I think we're all feeling pretty good, and hopefully that carries over to the vibe in Assembly Hall on Sunday. But man, you look at the schedule, and we've got some winnable games here in the next 4 or 5 games. To really solidify ourselves as a tournament team, to put ourselves in a good position down the stretch run of the Big Ten, to really feel good about where we're headed with this program. So
Yeah.
you sit here today excited, but also let's flush it, let's move on. We celebrated it hard, but now it's time to refocus, realign, and finish this season strong.
Yep. Quick turnaround for the team playing at 3:30 tomorrow against Michigan. Um, uh, Michigan's had time off since Tuesday was their last game, so they're gonna be a little bit fresher. Obviously, a lot of recovery, a lot of ice baths for IU, a lot of electrolytes. Cliff, let's get them in. Let's get them recovered. Uh, Timmy G, let's get that recovery
Yes.
program going
Yeah.
strong. But what I have kind of just overall done as a scouting kind of thing this year, looking at other teams, is I'll go back and I'll look at the games that they won. I look just as a broad the points, how many points they scored in their wins and how many points they scored in their losses. And Michigan is another one, similar to Iowa, similar to Purdue, that most of their wins come when they're scoring 70 points or plus. And their losses, they're in the low 60s or below. So those types of games, and I don't, again, I'm knocking on some more wood around here, are the games that I feel confident for IU in that sense of that means when they face defensive adversity, that's when they struggle and when they lose. So that gives me confidence going into tomorrow. But we got to think about that turnaround, that hangover, physicality, both mentally and physical decline, fatigue going into this game. So the benefit is Trace got some extra
Right.
rest and maybe rehabbed whatever tailbone, hip, whatever that is. We haven't really had full reports, at least that I know of. Have you heard anything exactly what that is?
I haven't. No, I just from obviously, it was an issue leading in. So hopefully with getting those limited minutes. Hopefully it's something that isn't an issue on Sunday at all.
And to my degree of where he fell and how he was carrying himself at the end of that fall in that game, and then how he was in this game seems to be more of a bruise.
Right.
or just a bang rather than a pull, a tear, a stretch, that kind of thing. So something that time will heal, but he hasn't quite had that time yet. But it will have to come. But yeah, I think let's close out things here on this one. Just give me your last thoughts on this game.
Yeah, just again, just I told myself and some of my Purdue friends, I'm like, there's no way I can go another year with seeing your, how many days has it been? 3,000 days since IU last beat Purdue. I'm like, I'm so thankful that, at times you take a step back. It's like, are we celebrating this win too much? And it's like, you think about like the seniors at IU, and if you've been at IU the last 4 years, it's their first win over Purdue, and and their tenure at school. And I saw some pictures of some kids that were at the Watt shot, and then were at Rob's shot the other night, and how young they were at the Watt. And one, it makes me feel old, but two, it's like I think about like in what Indiana basketball means to them, and their version of IU basketball hasn't seen a ton of success. So it's like, celebrate the hell out of this. Let's celebrate it for a day and move on. So it was big, obviously, with Coach Woody and the direction of the program and the momentum and the recruiting, the recruiting momentum that he has, and some of the guys that he's bringing in, and you start to look at things moving forward as he continues to build the program. It was monumental in that sense, that I think that it just solidifies and validates. There's a lot of question marks with him as a coach, from not just the fan base but the national media, and to see him continue to have success, beat a top 5 opponent, something that we haven't been able to do in 9 tries. It continues to make you feel good about the direction of the program. So I'm excited. Again, hoping we take advantage of some of the opportunity here we have over the next couple of weeks. But just a really good day for the program, and again, just hope that we continue to build on it moving forward.
Yep. And of course, you guys know who that is. That's Martha, the mop lady. Follow Martha on Twitter and everything. And obviously, Martha's been very busy recently with the Hoosier Ticket Project. HoosierTicketProject.org is where you can donate. If you're looking to get tickets, you can try to get tickets from that. Great organization. Now, all your donations to that is tax deductible. They've got their tax status, so that's great. For them, any sort of stories or moments from the Hoosier Ticket Project that allowed people to get to the game the other night?
We had 2 young men. We've been really blessed by the amount, especially leading up to you mentioned now that our 501c3 status was approved, so it allows us to go out and fundraise a little bit more. But we've been able to take unused tickets leading up to that point. We've been really blessed this season, the amount of tickets that we've received. And, generally it slows down a little bit. I mean, nobody's giving away their IU Purdue tickets, right? Those are, I'm going to use those, but we were able to get a couple sets, blessed to get those donated. And we sent a couple young men to their first game. And Amanda, who's at most games, who's a part of our organization, and we'll take kids down to the court before the game and get a picture of their family. And before the game, they walked over to the IU bench, and Rob was had a seat on the bench, and he turned around and took a picture with the 2 guys, the 2 young men that went. Really obviously not knowing the type of game he was going to go and have, but for these 2 young men that attended the game, to have that memory, to have that keepsake from that moment is a really, really special thing. And I think something as they grow and get older and become, solidify their fandom, their IU fandom, it's going to be something they look back on and be like, I was at that game. I got my picture with Rob. And, the parents were texting us after the game, talking about how excited their kids were and printing out the pictures and taking them to school. So it's a special thing. It's, when you think about it in that sense, about giving kids their first opportunity to visit Assembly Hall, especially in that sense, right? That type of game against a rival, and to get your picture with the star, really, really cool thing. And we couldn't do it without the gracious donations of IU fans.
That's fantastic. And my general thoughts of this game: isn't it so nice to finally get this monkey, like I've said, off our back? Little brother put in his place a little bit more. He was starting to get a little bit taller than us, like little brothers happen to be, and a little bit bigger, and was kind of beating us a little bit. But hey, we got one on him on this one. The memes of home away from home had been erased from Twitter. At least they tried to delete those, but back in your face, along with the very little controversial, a little bit aggravating commercial that they had during this game. Tough time to bring that out, and then the game blow up in your face there, Purdue. Sorry about you there, but great to get this game. And also a special thank you and shout out to the fans that were there. You filled Assembly Hall. You were loud. You were ruckus. You gave these kids some energy. You gave them some juice when they needed it and everything. To all the students that lined up and camped out, wore your suits, got going for this team, that is fantastic. You guys are awesome. You guys are great. You are why this program is as big as it is. And one of the reasons that it is such an amazing place to be at, such an amazing place to play at, and get games for IU, and honestly, to impress recruits. We had a few recruits there that you may have helped out some of that situation as well. So exciting to see. Thank you to the fans for showing up and showing out for this game and getting things going. That's going to do it for this edition of Hoosier Morning After. Thanks for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter at General Chadwick. You can also follow Martha the Mop Lady, as I'm sure you probably are. It's a must follow in the IU basketball arena. We'll be back again Monday after the Michigan game. Let's go IU. Let's bring the fever and keep going, building on this momentum that we have moving forward. Special thanks as always to Bob Thompson for producing the music you hear on the show. That's going to do it for this edition. Thank you for tuning in. As always, go out there and have a wonderful day, guys. Celebrate. And as always, go Hoosiers.